Oh, baby. Today, of course, you're here for your little Sovereign Tech Patreon only. Woo! Sovereign Tech Q&A Wednesday. But this Wednesday is a little extra special. And because I am so happy, you have no idea, I am so happy that Chelsea Manning, she has finally been released from military prison. Oh, yes. I was sharing it on social media this morning, just like, and I shared a little Cool in the Gang, celebrate good times, come on. I mean, it's so exciting. And I loved what she had to say. She's just like, what she was quoted as saying is that she's excited to have some pizza, to, meet all of her friends, her supporters and everything, and really to hit up some PlayStation. And I was like, oh, baby, meet me on PSN. Let's go. Woo! Yes. Yes. Now, some people might want to bring up some, what's the real reason why Chelsea, is getting released, 28 years early or something. I'm not going to go into that. I am just happy that she is out. That's the bottom line. I mean, there were so many stories and claims of what she was going through in prison. I am just so happy that she's released. Yep, I'm aware of that she's still quote unquote technically active duty, blah blah blah, but let's take the wins where we got them as far as this one goes. Absolutely. So, in the studio again. How about that? Maybe I can time things out to where I can be in the studio more often and I'm not messing with the inferior audio quality of the Blue Yeti or my Kingston HyperX Cloud 2 headset that I often do a lot of the Patreon content with, just because I like to put out so much content for the patrons to make sure you're getting your money's worth. And I like to think that you are, that, I can't hog up all the studio time because, of course, the lovely and hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy needs to be in the studio doing her shit, right on. And just doing amazing work. And boy, honestly, it's always a privilege to see her in the studio because, man, to see somebody build up a success for themselves like that, a level of success. I mean, it's phenomenal. She's amazing. So anyway, if you do want to help out, we are trying to build a second studio to where, a whole lot of other things can happen, not just more audio content, but also video content. Wishlist.zog.ninja. There's equipment there that can really help out with that. So anyway, let's start breaking into the questions. And actually, this is going to be there's going to be a lot of blockchain talk in this one. That's not all, but there is going to be a lot of blockchain talk. But to start it off, I want to get into, this is something that's really only been relevant in the past 24 hours, that you might not think is important. And some people just think is kind of funny and ridiculous and whatever, but kind of hit me. And that is the thankful react on Facebook. Now, I hate the fact that I have a Facebook account. There are varying reasons that are somewhat out of my control why I do. But anyway, since I do, there are points, there are certain people that I enjoy interacting with on there, and that's their main area where they interact. And over the past few days, the whole thankful react thing, which was this little purple flower that you could hit because you have the various reactions, right, that you can choose from now. It's not just the like button. Now there's a bunch of buttons. They added in the thankful react. And it was really cool because, for a few different reasons. One is that if it was on the mobile app, it would, every time you'd click on a post that somebody clicked the thankful react for, a bunch of purple flowers would fly up and everything. And it just, I don't know, it just made things kind of cute. And actually even the attitude of thankful and all, there's a lot of comedy and, dark humor and everything around the thankful react and sort of a lot of edgy, not edgelord, but just I don't know, not 4chan, but just internet edginess, around the use of it, that's kind of sardonic and everything and whatever. And I understand all that. Okay. But it was just kind of nice, that you could hit thankful on things. And the funny thing is people were hitting thankful, on everything. No matter what was going on, they were just hitting thankful to, And, apparently this whole thing, and in fact, it was so bad So when it went away, it was so I was talking with some very good friends about it, and we're just like, oh, what the fuck, it's gone. Again, folks, this isn't the most important thing in the world, but it's just kind of funny. But last night, seriously, again, I'm recording this this is Wednesday, May 17th, 2017. And last night, I literally had a dream, or I should say, actually, I got to get over the use of literally. In fact, you know what? I got some great feedback from a patron about using the term "so good." I am going to stop doing that. I thought that was because it's not descriptive of anything. You don't know what I mean when I say, oh, so good. And I know I say it a lot. I actually really appreciate that feedback. That was solid feedback. Moving on. So I actually had a dream last night. I had a couple of dreams. One of them, oh boy, me, a couple of, but anyway, the dream I had was that Facebook added in a dark theme to their Android app. Okay. And I mean, it was like a really, really like well thought out, like I was even researching, is this dark theme like really a thing? And ended up that they added it to the website as well and all that, which look, folks, for the website, well, okay, I'm not going to go down. There's already ways to do this. But anyway, I thought that Facebook, in my dream, I was dreaming that Facebook actually added this feature, which is a feature I've been wanting for years. And a lot of people have been wanting for years because that searing fucking white drives you insane, right? But that's how bad it was that the Thankful React went away, is that I was fucking dreaming about features getting added to Facebook, because my brain was trying to process, shit, the Thankful React's gone. God damn it. I'm being somewhat facetious here. But like, I really did have that dream. I mean, it was amazing that, I mean, that's how pathetic this all is, right? I mean, that's just how it, Facebook is now entering our dreams. Anyway, the point I was going to make is that, look, I know before somebody emails me and says, oh, Brian, you can actually already do the dark. I know, I'm the golden stallion. I know you can use, in fact, even though it existed long before, I ever mentioned it months ago, but you can use the Stylish add-on or extension for your web browser, and you can actually install a dark theme for Facebook that works really well. I use it. And if you're using like Firefox on Android, you can use the add-ons and extensions for add-ons for Firefox, and you can add Stylish onto your Firefox web browser. On Android, and then you could put in a dark theme on that, and then on mobile, yes, Facebook would have a dark theme. There's another add-on called black on white, or white on black background, or something like, I forget what it was. I've recommended it in the past on the Dark Android project. But anyway, yeah, I know you can kind of already do it. Again, I was dreaming that it was being done like officially by Facebook, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, enough of that. But it is kind of crazy. I mean, and the reason that it was only the Thankful React was only supposed to be there for Mother's Day. That was the whole point. And that's why it was only around for like the weekend, and then, Monday and Tuesday, all the way up until Tuesday night. I guess it took that long for Mother's Day to be around the world, or giving people time to Thankful React to everything. And, damn it. Just leave it. Just like Facebook did this before, right? Where some people got access to them, where they had the Star Trek face reacts, and like the angry face was a Klingon and all this stuff. Just leave this shit, or give people the options or something. I mean, this is going to get annoying, right? This is like the unicorn frappuccino from Starbucks, where, now Facebook is going to add certain ones, probably, for certain holidays or whatever. It's going to be interesting to see if they add it for Father's Day, if they put the Thankful React in for Father's Day, or if they put like a barbecue react or some kind of bullshit. What'll really be interesting is if they don't put that button there for Father's Day. And then, I just can't wait to hear the men screaming, oh God, Facebook hates us. Facebook hates men. Oh, it's the feminist agenda, blah, which is fucking horseshit, because there's, I don't know if anybody caught it. There was already that story that if you type out men are trash on Facebook will, or if you post a picture that says men are trash, Facebook will take it down under hate speech. So no, Facebook's not against you, men. I tell you, biggest whiners in the world are these fucking MRAs. God, or what is it? Make towels on whatever the hell these people call themselves. I've never seen a bigger group of babies in my life than these people. It's unbelievable. So maybe I'll lose some subscribers over that. But look, folks, if you want me to filter myself, for everyone's sensitivities, message me and tell me that. I'm not going to change, but I like to think that that's actually Sovereign Tech's part of its special sauce. Is that there's no filter. I'll say whatever the fuck I want. And my sponsors, when I talk to my sponsors, I make it very clear to them. I'm going to say whatever I want, even if it insults your business. I'm going to lay it out. And, everybody seems to get along with that. And I have sponsors that I've had for years. So there you go. I think that's the good thing is that, I'm not beholden to any one group. This is something that happens in podcasting. I've seen it. Honestly, I think I've seen it with some of, at least in the past, would have been my favorite, more liberty-oriented podcasts, where I think the host ends up becoming beholden to the interests of the listeners who are donating, and that they will walk on eggshells around certain topics. And that's really sad to see, especially when some of them are all about critical thinking. No, I'm not talking about the one you think I'm talking about. I'm not. And I'm not even going to mention the name. It's other ones that I am still to this day a huge fan of, and it's a shame. So, anyway, at least that's what I think is going on. I don't have evidence to back it up, so why even bother talking about it? All right, let's move on to some other stuff. So, yeah, Thankful React is gone. God damn it, pisses me the hell off. It really does. It was so nice. It was, even that, it was so nice to just say thankful and all that, even if it was as a joke. It was just. How about that? How about being thankful for once? All right, let's get into some of the questions here. What do we got? Like I said, this is going to be a heavily big. Oh, well, before we get into it, so I did get a question. Somebody asked me about. Now I talked about this. This is maybe 2-3 months ago. I said I don't understand what's happening. So a computer that I recommend quite a bit, and that I'll probably end up talking about on episode 226 of Sovereign Tech Prime coming up, is the Libreboot computers. Okay, and particularly the ones from minifree.org are, there's other sources for them, but that's the source that I often recommend and go to, and have actually been listing in the appendix to the show notes for every single episode of Sovereign Tech Prime, ever since I found out about them, ever since really they started. Libreboot, for those that don't know, is a replacement BIOS firmware, okay, for Intel machines. And the thing is it only works for Intel machines generally going pre-Sandy Bridge, okay, as far as chipsets. So this is just before, the i5s and i7s and all that. This is back when it was the Intel Core 2 Duos. All right. And I had talked about that on Sovereign Tech Prime, that there was this I don't know what's happening, but when I go to Minifree's website, now they're offering the Libreboot X220, and they're offering a Libreboot D16 desktop. And I was like, how can they do this? Those have Sandy Bridge processors in them. It's like, I thought that it was impossible to remove was it the media engine? I think it is in Sandy Bridge. I mean, and this is, everybody knew about this, even when Sandy Bridge was coming out, that there would be some really ugly changes that had some very ugly potential. And now with what's going on with the Intel management, with the AMT technology, which we'll be talking about on episode 226 of Sovereign Tech. That's why I said that this will probably come up again. Libreboot isn't affected by that, because that is such an ugly ass backdoor. I'm not going to go into talking. I'm going to save that for the Prime episode. But bottom line is that a few months back, before we knew about the problem with the Intel processors, or were proven the problems with Intel processors from Sandy Bridge up, I had said I don't get it, because suddenly all the computers at Minifree, okay, which Minifree is Ministry of Freedom, all the Libreboot computers were no longer respect your freedom certified by the Free Software Foundation. And I was like, well, this is bothersome. And because that was why I recommended them, because, you were guaranteed when the Free Software Foundation, that's FSF.org, run by Richard Stallman and all that, largely wonderful organization. When they said that, or, when they would tell you that something was on the up and up, say like their recommended version of Linux is Triskel, you can count on it that, because they really go through the paces. You can count on it that this is something that's under your control and that's completely open source, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So that respects your freedom certification is, really, that's a gold standard. That's getting the platinum bells, baby. That's a huge, really a huge deal. So when the Libreboot computers were no longer certified that way, I was like, what the hell's going on? Now, somebody, I think maybe on SoundCloud, because I was talking about a Sovereign Tech Prime episode, somebody on SoundCloud messaged and gave me sort of an idea of what went on. And so I finally decided to take a bigger look into, okay, what's going on here? And the reason I was looking into it is because I wanted to find out, because we're going to be talking about, this whole Intel processor backdoor problem, or loss of control problem, exploit and so I'm looking into it, and wow, like this was not okay. And so people, had asked me about it, did you find out what this was all about and everything? And so, now I finally did. And so I'll touch on it a bit here. I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on it, because honestly, what happened with why Libreboot is no longer respects your freedom, under certified by the Free Software Foundation, like this is really like internal politics. I don't mean political as in Trump sucks. And he does, but internal politics within a couple of major open source organizations. Really, really crazy shit that went down. And this bothers me quite a bit, and I'll explain why. But effectively is that at Libreboot, and I didn't necessarily know how this was structured at Libreboot. There wasn't a whole ton of, ironically, Libreboot is, incredibly transparent open source software or firmware, but the Libreboot organization as it is not the most transparent thing, or at least it wasn't. It is more so now, now that they've kind of resolved things. And just to bottom line it quick, yes, Libreboot is going to start working with the Free Software Foundation, GNU, and all that. And they're going to get that certification back, or at least they're going to try to. It's just at the end of literally the ass end of April did they finally reach out to GNU and the Free Software Foundation and say, hey, we're changing things at Libreboot. Let's get all this cleaned up, and let's get working together again. And also Libreboot is going to start working with, I think it's called LibreCore, which is sort of a Libreboot alternative. And I'm glad that exists, but they're going to get to where, they're kind of working together, and all that I think is fine and dandy. And they are going to, I'll say this before I talk about the internal politics, the Libreboot X220 is going to be a thing, but I don't think it's going to be released until December, because they are working on. So when you buy a Libreboot X220, previously they offered the X200 and the T400 Libraboots, which are all based off of, 2011 ThinkPads, which are great computers. The X220, you're effectively pre-ordering it if you buy one now, and you're funding the work to get rid of I think it's the media engine. I think that's what the Intel ME is. But anyway, they're working on getting rid of that. That way the X220, which is a way more powerful machine than the X200 or the T400, to where you could take advantage of that. And that's fine with me. So anyway, so that's something that's coming. That's going to be a computer I'm still going to recommend. And I still recommend Libreboot overall. If you get your hands on a T400 or T500 or an X220 or X200 or whatever, please, I still think it's absolutely great and important work. Don't confuse me. But here's exactly what happened: is that at Libreboot, kind of the head of the project was a woman named Leah Rowe, who. I need to look more into her history, but I really, honestly, I just don't want to care. I don't want to care about this. I'm just going to bring it up to you. I'm going to read, but she wrote a very public, kind of post to the world. And I'll read it here. Hi, the Free Software Foundation recently fired a transgendered employee of the FSF just for being trans, because some transphobic, cis sexist people wrote negatively about her. The FSF fired her because they thought she, rather than the assholes bullying her, was causing the FSF potential damage. As a result, she was fired from the FSF. As a trans person myself, I find this disgusting. I'm declaring here and now to the whole world that Libreboot is no longer part of the GNU project. I do not believe that the FSF or the GNU project deserve to exist. Please remove Libreboot from the GNU mailing list infrastructure, and GNU Savannah admins, please delete the LR account. That's Libreboot account. I own Libreboot.org, and I have the ability to create my own mailing lists for the Libreboot project. I do not wish to use the GNU non-GNU mailing lists anymore. Libreboot is not part of GNU or FSF anymore. I hereby denounce both GNU and FSF. Long live the LGBT community, and long live the free software movement. Meanwhile, FSF and GNU can both go fuck themselves. Woo. Okay, now, the reality around that, like, did that actually happen where a trans person got fired from the Free Software Foundation because they were trans? I don't know. Sort of, it seems like nobody knows. And this is, you know, penny ante bullshit that I don't want to get involved in. The part that bothers me about this, okay, is that what the fuck does any of this have to do with software development? Really, at the end of the day, what does it have to do with Libreboot, you know, and GNU kind of going forward? The software should be speaking for itself and should be able to go forward. Leah, this, you know, trans, you know, woman, Leah Rowe, she was able to do this because she was solely in control. There was no, you know, she had total control of Libreboot, or at least of, I guess, you know, the servers, whatever else. And now don't be concerned that, like, oh, you know, she hates what men do or something. Could she, you know, push out a Libreboot update that would fuck everybody? No, she can't. She can't do that. That's not how Libreboot works. Okay, if Libreboot worked, that, I'm like, that's the whole point of why Libreboot exists, is so that Intel can't do that sort of thing to your computer. You understand? Okay, so calm the fuck down. First off, all right, but secondly, or you know, it is concerning that, like, this kind of shit. And look, I mean, believe me, there are genuine work problems where, you know, transgender people get treated like shit. Those are very real and very concerning, and I do have concerns about those. Okay, however, you know, all of that said, and look, if Libreboot wants to, you know, has a philosophical argument or, you know, disagreement with GNU and all this stuff, you know, fine. The thing is, this, like, held up Libreboot development. This held up all kinds of things within the company. And that's kind of where I have the problem, is that, like, this kind of shit affected technology, really, that, you know, a lot of people, especially activists, you know, and anarchists and others around the world, really rely upon for safety and for, you know, confidence in the work that they're doing, some of which lives are on the line. That's what bothers me, is that this was, look, if the Free Software Foundation did that, they are so in the fucking wrong as a company, or as an organization. They're not really a company, I guess, but as an organization, yeah, I mean, I'm so with you on that I would say, fuck you, fuck them, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look, with the EFF, you know, the Electronic Frontier Foundation, I donated to them probably for like a decade. Forever I was donating to them. And I stopped because my donation money was going towards lobbying and political solutions, you know, like, as in real politics, like, you know, Trump sucks, which he does. And, you know, I was like, I can't do this. I'm not going to fund this shit anymore. Okay, just like if I thought, honestly, if I thought the Free Software Foundation was, you know, a transphobic, you know, organization or something like that, and well, you know, maybe I'd consider stop funding them for that sort of thing too, you know, maybe. But that's just me, a donor, you know, saying, okay, no, I don't like what you're doing, and so, you know, I stop. We're talking about, like, whole organizations withdrawing and halting development and stopping on shit that's really important in many ways to the world. You know, like, I mean, this kind of thing should have been solved. Like, Leah Rowe handled this in an absolutely wrong way. Like, if she wants to make it public, fine. But doing all the horseshit that you know, or causing all of the avalanche and the horseshit that came out of this. I mean, she wrote a letter later, and she wrote to GNU saying, look, this is ridiculous. Like, I was way out of line. And she admits to having substance abuse and, you know, and all this different stuff and whatever. And I appreciate her, you know, her openness and honesty and all that, and for admitting she was wrong. I mean, this was the wrong fucking reaction. Holy fucking shit. You know, and I mean, and if people, you know, to some degree, I'm glad it was out in the open, because I know I was sweating a little bit when I saw, oh, wait a minute, what happened with Libreboot and the free, why isn't Libreboot and the Free Software Foundation working together anymore? You know, what's going on? I mean, because you know, when it's organizations like this, like I said, with so much kind of on the line, you know, in our post-Snowden world, right? You know, like you go, your brain automatically goes to the nuclear option. Like, what the fuck? What's going on here? So, you know, like I said, I'm glad this is kind of out in the open. Now they're all trying to repair everything, and Libreboot has, you know, put out the olive branch, the Free Software Foundation and whatever. But wow, like this is not at all how this should have been handled on an organizational level. On a personal level, handle shit how you want. Leia Rowe can call out the Free Software Foundation, you know, right and left. But with Libreboot, I mean, you know, we're talking about a whole organization, and, you know, there's a bunch of different people working on this. She is not Libreboot. I mean, she seemingly was, but anyway, thankfully that's not the case anymore. And that's all getting resolved. So there wasn't some kind of security breach or something like that. The Free Software Foundation wasn't like, okay, oh no, you fucked this up. You didn't do right. We can't give you your Respect Your Freedom certification now. You know, we have to take it away from you. It wasn't anything like that. It was just some bullshit internal politics. Not bullshit. Look, if the transgender issue was real, it's not bullshit. I understand. But the way it was handled was bullshit. Terrible. This is such child stuff. You know, I mean, it's so immature to be acting this way. Unfucking believable. So, you know, I mean, I'm mad about it. Like, I really am. I'm glad things are getting patched up. I'm glad people are admitting where they were wrong, but this not cool. And, you know, I hate it because now you feel like with software, you know, especially software this serious. Like, imagine, I mean, you know, for an analogy, not that an analogy is proof, you know, proof by analogy isn't proof, but that's why I hate it when people use analogies. I think it's near illegitimate, but just to give you an example. Okay. If you know, say something happened with Signal where like Moxie Marlin Spike, you know, was mad that Google doesn't hire anarchists, which honestly, like, there's some evidence to suggest that Google will not hire people that are anarchists, which that should bother everybody. Oh, I have a story that I could tell about that. Ooh, maybe I'll tell it. Well, okay. Give me a second. I'll get into a story about that. Just for patrons only. I won't put it out on more open air. Okay. So, you know, say what happens is that Signal suddenly says, well, we're not going to be in the Google Play Store anymore. Fuck you. We're not even going to be on Android because, you know, we are so mad that you won't play ball with anarchists or blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, I'm just giving an example. Say that sort of shit went down. You know, I mean, like, how many people would that affect? It's like, come on, guys. It's like, yeah, okay. You know what, Moxie? Tell everybody that it sucks that Google won't hire anarchists, but you're just going to take away the tools, you know, and the confidence that people have in Signal because of that. Like, no, I would honestly, I think that's wrong. I think that's bad. That's a bad move. You know, I mean, and there's a bunch of business reasons why that probably would never, ever happen. But you get my point. You know, that's kind of the, you know, the comparison, I think, you know, to what this is like. And I think that's such bullshit, you know, anyway. Okay. I've talked enough about that. Now the story I want to tell you. Okay. So yesterday I released, the Monticello episode where I went to Monticello. So I went to Charlottesville, Virginia, had a nice little trip, with Stephanie, you know, the lovely, hyper intelligent Dr. Stephanie Murphy, and her mother, who's just, you know, just one of the most amazing women on the earth. And we actually took Amtrak. We went on a train ride because, you know, people didn't want to drive and flying was kind of impractical, whatever. The train ride itself was actually pretty good. On the way back, when we stopped at New York, when we stopped at Penn Station, you know, because we're getting back to, you know, towards New Hampshire. Three people came onto the train. Okay. One of them was a woman who was a Google employee, and she was running her mouth a little too much. She was and I think eventually she realized it, but she was sitting right next to me and she's talking to her friends. Okay. I'm not going to say, she said what position she had at Google. It was a somewhat important one. All right. But I'm not going to, all right, fine. I'll say it. So she claimed to be in marketing and that she was the person that actually did all the drawing up of the copy for describing the Google Pixel, the Pixel phone. All right. kind of an important position. I mean, she's drawing up the copy for describing, what Google's flagship device is here, right? And first off, she said that the Google, here's the scoop, folks. Now, a lot of people kind of theorize this, but she said that the Pixel 2, the next version of the Pixel, is coming out in October. She said, she just said it flat, matter of fact, that's when it's coming out. And you would think if she's writing the copy for Pixel's marketing, that, yeah, she knows what the hell she's talking about. So that's one thing. So there's confirmation. I mean, people have theorized it already, but I would take that as near confirmation. But she said a couple of other things. One other thing she said is she has, and that largely internally, it seems there's no confidence in the Chromebook market, like that she doesn't believe in the product or something. Well, whatever. She's just one person. Google's a gigantic company, and whether or not she was referring to other people that they don't have confidence in it, that's kind of speculation. But the other thing she said is she was talking to another guy that she said she was going to get hired into Google. And she said, I want to get you hired into Google because I think it's important for people this is what she said, of good politics to infiltrate these companies. Now, I don't know what her politics are. I can only assume because she was using an Apple computer and, a lot of people use Apple computers, but because she was using the Mac and just kind of the way she was talking, a lot of different stuff coming out of New York. I can only assume that she was probably like some, hardcore Democrat. Now I say that with empathy because I used to be a hardcore Democrat. But that was a really crazy statement. Politics is playing into a lot of the tech world. And honestly, and I don't even just mean like that like what Trump, who sucks and he does, what he puts out there as like some kind of legislation is affecting technology. I'm saying that politics is affecting the very coding and, the very innards of every technology company by the people themselves, and their ideologies and everything. I mean, to me, it speaks well of Sovereign Tech because I'm kind of the only tech show out there that will bring up actual philosophy, principles, ethics, at the deep core, of politics. But woo, boy, was that a creepy fucking thing to hear somebody say. That, oh yeah, I want to get you hired. I mean, she was a young woman too. I want to get you hired in because, we need people of good politic infiltrating these companies. So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like Democrats, you might want to stop fucking using Google because they're getting infiltrated. Hey, there you go. Just putting it out there for you folks. Anyway, so yeah, just an interesting little story there. And it was funny too, because I think the woman eventually, she realized she was talking a little too loudly and that maybe some people were listening and yeah. Oh boy. And others could corroborate the story I just told you, but regardless, take it for what you will. Okay. So, and I was like, boy, like I said to people later, I was like, I could have her job. Like she cannot be saying that shit. I talk about this all the time. There's a reason that, a lot of these, I mean, she was in New York and obviously a company like Alphabet/Google has, satellite offices all over the world, but there's a reason that a lot of these satellite offices, they make, they give you free food. They give you all the stuff to make it very amenable for you to stay at the office. Why? So you don't go outside of the office, get on a fucking train and open your mouth and somebody hears this shit, right? Like that I just described. I mean, that's why these companies offer free food. It's not like they believe in communism or anything like that. They don't. It's not like they believe in, oh yeah, everything should be free, blah, 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 post-scarcity, yada, yada. It's not like they have some kind of political ideology. They don't want you to leave the office because they're afraid you're going to open your goddamn mouth. You understand? I know this. I've had the conversations with CEOs that's exactly why they do that. But whatever. Anyway, so, boy, wouldn't this episode would make a hell of a Sovereign Tech Prime episode. Maybe I'll release it as like a demo at some point of what you get when you get a Patreon Q&A. Okay, let's get into some other stuff here. Like I said, I did have a bunch of blockchain questions to get into. So here's a simple one. This is actually a two-parter, and I'll get to the second part here in a second. Just asking pretty much what's the best exchange for Bitcoins into altcoins. Yeah, and the person said Shapeshift. Yep, Shapeshift. I use Shapeshift.io when I, doing Bitcoin to Zcash. and yeah, I mean, I think buying into Zcash is a totally valid thing, even though certainly I think altcoins and Bitcoin to some degree are in a price bubble right now. Yeah, that's really the best. I think it's just the easiest way to go. And you can anonymize the whole process, to a lot of different degrees using a VPN, and whatever other technologies you want to use to anonymize the process. That's just the route I go through. I mean, because you don't have to make an account with like with an actual exchange like Poloniex or something. Not that I really have a problem with Poloniex or some of these others, but it's just so simple. I know there's like a somewhat of a higher fee, but yeah, that's just what I recommend is Shapeshift. So, and if you're wondering like what proper exchange I recommend, Poloniex. Yes, there's a problem with Poloniex where from New Hampshire you can't get a Poloniex account. I'm well aware of that. Obviously, just use a VPN. I mean, like, yeah, that sucks. It's stupid that's legislation in New Hampshire, but it's easy to get around. So actually, you could kind of open it anywhere. And then once you're in New Hampshire, whether you're on a VPN, like you could open the account, say somehow from New York or something, and which is only 2 hours away from New Hampshire. Like you can get there in a 3-hour drive easy. And then, or Vermont, or, take your pick. Just drive to another state for a few minutes. Okay. And then open up a Poloniex account. And then even when you're in New Hampshire, whether you're on a VPN or not, you can still access it. So, it's so easy to get around. Yes, it's dumb legislation, like I said, but it's not hard. You don't even have to have high technical knowledge to do it. Just go to a McDonald's in Massachusetts or something, okay, and open the fucking account. So anyway, I'm getting, all right. If you're wondering about my tone, I'm actually getting a lot of negative shit from patrons. Look, and that's fine. Like I want to hear what you have to say. Okay. And I'm getting a lot of negative shit as late from regular Sovereign Tech listeners. That's totally cool, guys. Like, let me know. And I want to have those conversations, but some of the emails I've gotten, I'm like, whoa, like let's have this conversation. Let's not be, let's not be asses about this. 'Cause I don't want to be an ass with you. So anyway, moving on. So, okay, the second part of that question was, what were my thoughts on NXT? Now, okay, so NXT and I have a degree of history because I used to be a big supporter of NXT. I was a big fan. I had, there was a point where I had acquired quite a bit of NXT. Fortunately, I was, able to get out of it at an opportune time. But that's the thing is I got out of it because I knew things weren't going well. NXT. So I'm guessing like the question that was asked was a very, very basic, just like a one-line question. What did I think of NXT? I'm going to assume that the reason anybody's asking about NXT right now has to do with their new platform called Ardor. And I think the blockchain itself is actually it's ARDR, but they spell it ARDOR when they're talking about it more openly. And I'll talk about Ardor in a second, and then we're going to talk about another new blockchain tech that actually has to do with VPNs. So Ardor is this idea, I was going to talk about NXT first. So NXT is a proof of stake cryptocurrency. It's been around for a long time. It really had a hell of a good run back in like 2014. And the good run was that it was coming out with new technology, new abilities, new developments, and a really slick look. Like the NXT wallet was gorgeous. And I'm sure it still is. I didn't even realize NXT was still around. I thought people just like totally dropped out of it. In fact, I knew some people that are, were big investors in NXT and they have come out publicly and said they've lost everything. So I'm kind of shocked NXT is still a thing. But anyway, so NXT, they were coming out, they had like a built-in messenger. They had all this wild shit. They had, what was it called? NXT Free Market, which was which was pretty much OpenBazaar before OpenBazaar even came out. Where it was this decentralized marketplace. I even sold my games, Hypercronius, on the NXT Free Market. I never sold a copy, but I put it up there, and and there was like a marketplace built into the client as well. I tried selling on that, never sold a copy of the game. Nobody gave a shit. But I mean, they really were releasing a lot of these things that people were talking about that blockchain technology would allow for peer-to-peer implementations of. NXT was releasing like inside of a year or two. It was incredible to watch. Like, I mean, you could not be excited about it. The only thing that people generally held against it was the fact that it was proof of stake. A lot of people don't like that. I understand why. I get the arguments. Okay. And then the other thing is that there was like this 21 person group that was in charge of, and that had to be trusted, the distribution of, however many NXT there were at first. So people had trust issues with that, and they didn't like proof of stake. And I understand both of those. I get it. Obviously those kind of concerns wouldn't hold up today, because look at what Ethereum's doing, right? Even though Ethereum doesn't actually really do what it says it's going to do. Ethereum just has value because of speculation. It's not because it actually does something, because pretty much anything that people want to do with Ethereum, like you almost instantly see the impracticality of doing that. If anything, it's just going to be a backup system for, major corporations maybe, but like Microsoft or something, but I'm not talking about that right now. So anyway, NXT. So what happened is, I think in like maybe 2015, something like that. I forget the exact date, but NXT, there was a major theft of NXT from, varying accounts and everything. And it ended up where the NXT development team was saying that, okay, we can do a rollback to where this theft never happened. Now, this is something that came up, remember, with the DAO, with the DAO, and Ethereum, right? And everybody's like, oh, don't do it, but they did it. So to a degree. But the NXT community told the developers, no, don't do it. Like, you can't rewrite history. That's not how finances should work. We got to go forward with it. We'll pay the ransom to get back all of that NXT, and we'll just, we'll go forward with this. And while that was the right thing to do for the NXT community, and I applauded them, and I've talked about it many times, it's really kind of what killed NXT, because that's not going to build in investor confidence. You're not going to get in whales and all these other, dumbasses, to get interested in it, even though there were some people that put significant money into NXT, certainly. But that was kind of to some degree, the death knell for NXT. Not to say that there was anything inherently wrong with the technology. I mean, this shit happens. It happened to Ethereum, right? After a fashion. But there you go. So because one of the things NXT was not addressing was getting, kind of going in the direction of what I was looking for more. And around 2014 is when we started getting news that Zcash was going to end up becoming a thing, right? Like that it was going to start coming back and all that. And so I pretty much said, it's like, no, if Zcash is, which was originally Zero Coin, if Zcash is going to end up becoming a thing, then I don't need NXT. In fact, there aren't many other, cryptos that I'd end up needing. So I don't, NXT just doesn't do anything for me. It's not going in areas that are that, and, I don't know if it's ever going to hold any kind of value. I mean, it did some things that I thought were cool. Now, one of them is related to Ardor. So what did it, I think it called it Monetary System, was something that they were developing back in 2014 or so, something like that. And Monetary System was the ability within the NXT client itself, within the, the NXT wallet, was the ability to create your own cryptocurrency, which was really cool. Like, wow, okay. And I was excited about it. And I talked about it on Sovereign Tech Prime episodes. It was like, holy shit, this is amazing, but it just never took off. Nobody jumped on this stuff. It never got network effect. And I don't know if it was because NXT, if the team there didn't know how to market or what, it just never really took off. So, without other people using it, what am I supposed to do? And please, it's not like I didn't fucking try. I was one of the rare podcasts that would even mention NXT. I tried, okay, and nobody wanted to jump on board with it. So, why exactly would I stick around with it, right? Now they have a new technology that apparently some people are getting excited about called Ardor. And Ardor is kind of like, I mean, it's sort of NXT turning into Ethereum, right? Where they're creating this platform that's secured, it's kind of its own blockchain, but it's secured by the NXT blockchain, sort of like how like Counterparty is built on top of Bitcoin. This is how I'm understanding Ardor. And it's allowing you to do a whole bunch of different stuff. on the NXT blockchain, like aliasing, having using it like the cloud where, data storage, more account control. You have monetary system, which we just talked about, secure messaging, which NXT already had anyway. Then there's supposedly they're going to do a degree of like CoinJoin, or, where it's called coin shuffling, where you can do more anonymous transactions, voting, plugins, phasing, and then they're going to have the marketplace, some of which NXT really already had, but not all of those. But then you're going to be able to build on top of that. And maybe you can have your own little like Ardor, I think they call them child chains, where you could do all this different stuff. You could even create your own Ardor platform and then build on top of that and whatever. And, face value, that's really cool to give people the ability to create their own, blockchains, in this case, child chains, and their own technologies, and to make it like really easy to where you don't need to have, coding ability or developer, capabilities to implement this stuff and to create it. Like that's really exciting, I have to admit, but people are going to have to jump on board with it. Okay. And I'm not going to talk about this stuff and this is a point that's going to lead into the next topic I have. Okay. Look, I'm not going to talk about blockchain technologies on Sovereign Tech Prime. Generally, I'm not going to. There's one condition where I will talk about them, and I'll describe what that condition is in a second. But you got to understand this, folks. I can get an email from anybody because I make it possible to anonymously contact me, and it could be somebody from NXT who says, "Oh, I love your show. I'd love for you to talk about Ardor, on your show," and they're just going for free marketing, and I'm not going to allow for that. Like, I'm just not, there's a bunch of different ones, and I've talked about them at various points. I have talked about blockchain technologies in the past. Look, if I think it's really something exciting and I see some real steam behind it, not steam it, but I'll talk about it if it's a good thing. I'll also talk about it if I think it's a bad thing and I see a lot of gusto, a lot of steam behind it, which I have, with, what was it? Fuck it. I can't remember the names of all of them. So anyway, but Steam is a great example where, I knew it was bullshit right from the get-go. So anyway, understand that and that's why I'm talking about this on Patreon, because I'll talk about it behind the paywall, to where it's not going to, people can't really use it for free marketing so much. Or if they do, it becomes very clear that I wasn't helping with a pump and dump or something. And I get accused of that too. And that, fuck you. I don't pump and dump shit. Okay. I really don't. I only talk about what I care about. Like, some people are saying like my support of Zcash is a pump and dump. No, you can't, there's no, okay. So that doesn't exactly fall under pump and dump. Here's the stipulation under which I will talk about a blockchain technology. Without worrying so much, is if they're not going to do an ICO, initial coin offering where they do a pre-sale or something. If what they're doing isn't going to have a pre-sale, if it's already pre-funded effectively, like it's already funded ahead of time before it even gets released, I'll talk about it. But if it does an ICO, it will never show up on Sovereign Tech, at least not until well after it's been developed. Unless it's something that I hear about and I'm concerned about it, and I'm like, look, you're going to waste your money if you go into the ICO or something. Okay. Unless I'm going to talk negatively about it, I will not talk about it, because I will not support an ICO. I think that these kinds of fundraisers are such horse shit. Okay. Because people are just taking the money and running with so many of these altcoins and whatever else are bullshit. And Ardor, I think Ardor might have already started. I don't know if they're doing their ICO or whatever. Okay. But I won't promote it. I won't. I don't recommend getting in on any ICO. Zcash, why I didn't mind talking about Zcash? One is I talked about Zerocoin for years, and I almost conspiratorial about the fact it never got put into Bitcoin. Okay. Because that was originally why zero knowledge proofs and Zerocoin were, effectively theorized and getting developed. Zcash did no ICO. They became a for-profit company right out of the gate. They had the money, they did their business, and they released their product. Good. I say this all the time on Sovereign Tech. I'll take your money when I'm done. That's how I roll. I don't do Kickstarters for my games. I don't do any of that shit. When the project's done, then you can pay me for my work. Oh, these ICOs drive me up the fucking wall. I won't support a goddamn one of them. That's not a new stance for me. That's how it's always been. I talked about, remember when BitNation first came out? I ripped them to shreds for their stupid ass fucking fundraiser. So anyway, okay. Whew. So Ardor, I love the idea. I don't know if it's going to take off. Like, I think the idea is fine. I'm intrigued. You know, I like this idea of making blockchain technologies and currencies and all these different things, you know, available to more people, to more readily use. I mean, it's like the WordPress of currencies or something. Okay, great. You know, like I really don't have any beef with that, but I just don't think that this is going to take off. NXT just has too much. You know, it's got too much baggage, you know, too much of a bad history. And I don't think people take it seriously enough. I mean, I appreciate their efforts. I applaud their efforts, but I just don't see it going anywhere. So, okay, there you have that. Now let's move on to the next shitcoin. I'm sorry. The next, altcoin kind of development here. And this is, I actually got asked about this by a couple of people that I have, you know, tons of respect for. So, you know, understand that when I rip on this, I'm not ripping on you. I'm really not. So, and this is Mysterium, Mysterium. I'll put links in the appendix of the show notes for this Q&A episode so that you can look into this stuff for yourself if you really want to. Now, the idea here with Mysterium, and I read the white paper, I did my due diligence in the homework because, you know, when you just do go to a search engine and look up about Mysterium, you end up with a bunch of sponsored posts, meaning that Mysterium is paying Bitcoin.com and whoever else to do a post about them. Okay, so why would you trust those? No, you don't fucking trust those. Okay, like that's marketing. It's an advertisement. It's not a fucking story. Okay, so Mysterium. This is the idea is that it's a peer-to-peer. It's now wait, actually, let me be clear on this. It's not, they're not calling it peer-to-peer. They're calling it a decentralized VPN. I find it very interesting that the term peer-to-peer does not show up in their, you know, in any of their writings, in any of their copy, or really even in their white paper. And I think there's a reason for that, because there is a difference between decentralized and peer-to-peer. Like there's this whole breakdown where they're, you know, distributed, peer-to-peer, and decentralized. Those are three different things. All right. And I don't know if I can exactly, you know, best describe sort of the differences there, but there's been some, like Paige Peterson, she did a great write-up about what the differences are between those terms. So decentralized, I mean, effectively could just mean that, well, you know, it's not like you have control on it and it's not necessarily on a server. Peer-to-peer means serverless. All right, like straight. Decentralized, I don't think has to mean that there isn't a server involved. And anyway, so with Mysterium, the idea is that it's this new VPN service that you know, that is decentralized. Okay, so, and, you know, kind of the marketing around it is that, well, there'll be, you know, there's a token involved, which already your red flag should be going up once there's a token involved. And that, you know, like this is going to solve some problems with VPNs. Now, the only problem that I can possibly see that they're trying to solve is the actual use of VPNs and the handing over of hardware, because you can, with the Mysterium client, or the application, I should say, apparently it allows you to hand over some degree of resources on your computer that you're using to, you know, to help bolster, you know, the entire virtual private network, you know, that makes up the Mysterium VPN. And it does that by incentivizing you through you earning a Mysterium token, you know, or I think they're calling it MYST, MYST. Here's the problem. Okay. So, I mean, there's some good things being done here. There's some bad things. This isn't really like it's not really its own blockchain. It's actually being built into Ethereum. Like it's using Ethereum as its backend. Now, because it has its own client software, it's able to take advantage of some other blockchains, like it might use Zcash or Monero, and they say this right in their marketing and in their white paper or whatever. You know, it can use that to, you know, to anonymize the payment, perhaps, to a, you know, somebody that's helping bolster, you know, giving system resources to empower the Mysterium VPN. And, you know, okay, good. I'm glad they're recognizing, you know, Zcash and, you know, is the real deal and whatever else. Okay, but again, this is really being built on Ethereum. So it's not really its own technology. It's not really a new technology. In fact, there's nothing about it. Actually, in fact, it already uses, like, it's not even its own VPN. Like, it's using third-party VPN, applications, probably some implementation of OpenVPN, which, by the way, update OpenVPN if you haven't, if you use it raw, because they did come out with a really great security fix. There was that independent audit done on OpenVPN, and the independent audit was very favorable. So that was cool to hear. But anyway, so Mysterium VPN, like, all it's really doing, it's not improving VPNs necessarily. It's really just like trying to create an incentivizing structure to use VPNs with these Mist coins. Okay. Or, with Mist. And I'm not going to say there's anything inherently wrong with that, but there's also, who's asking for that? Like, there's plenty of incentives to run VPNs already. Because people want them and they pay a monthly subscription fee for them. This really isn't solving any problems, and I know there was Tor coin, right? Wasn't that a thing where it was supposed to try and incentivize the use of Tor? That never took off. I don't see this one taking off either, because I think most people, rightfully so, there's even really problems. Like, I get why they said they wanted to use Zcash, because, well, here's an issue. So, like, say you wanted to give up resources for a VPN, but then, you're getting paid on a, on a ledger, like a blockchain. A blockchain is a ledger of, what system resources you gave and what you're getting paid for. I mean, you're effectively getting tracked for, providing a VPN, which defeats the purpose of a VPN. A VPN is supposed to keep you from getting tracked. And so, like, I guess that's why they were talking about, well, we're interested in using Monero and Zcash to kind of keep you from getting tracked. But I think this is adding a complication layer that is completely unnecessary for what VPNs are supposed to do. I don't think it's a good idea at all. The real solution to solving the problems of why VPNs are needed in the first place is to get away from using servers entirely, not to incentivize the uses of VPNs. So I feel like this is some kind of, bastard half step that is a waste of development time. Have the development team, go work with somebody else, on some other technology that could maybe, get us more towards like a mesh network, situation, or, more distributed internet than just trying to fix something that, and this is the other thing too. And I've said this many times on Cybertech. Look, VPNs are not a perfect technology, and Mysterium is not going to solve China constantly, the Chinese government constantly breaking VPNs. It can't do that. And it's not going to do that. It's not meant to even do that. So it's not really an improvement on VPNs. Like it, and of course, like we were just talking about with Ardor, they're doing an ICO, like May 30th, I think is their ICO, where you can buy into it. You don't have the product. The white paper barely describes how it's supposed to fucking work. And you can read through the white paper yourself if you like. I did. I read the whole damn thing, and frankly, it's a bunch of marketing material. Okay. Like, if I was an investor, I have no investor confidence to even walk away from, looking at, in fact, I have quite the opposite, looking at what Mysterium is offering out. And again, it's not even their own technology. It's just backed by Ethereum, which I don't need to go into my huge problems with Ethereum. I already described, Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't really do what it does. In fact, Ethereum, in most of the applications where it was supposed to replace servers, it is orders of magnitude slower than the weakest server in the world. That, like, Ethereum's never going to replace servers. It's just not going to happen. And so that's why I say that Ethereum's only value is in the speculation that people have for it. It's not because it actually does what it says it's going to do, because it doesn't, not really. In fact, when it tries to do what it says it's going to do, what happens? DAO. So, yeah, I don't know. Mysterium, there's nothing here. It's a pointless, it's a technology. Like, why does it even bother? This is a technology existing literally to just line people's pockets and not yours. It's not meant to be. And we're talking about VPNs, folks. This is supposed to be a very serious technology that, that helps people get past censorship, tyranny, and all these different things. I'm sorry, like, adding a payment layer to that horse shit, or, adding a payout layer to that horse shit is, I think that's ugly business. I don't agree with that at all. So they're really not improving anything. It's so pointless. So there's my thoughts on Mysterium. If you think I'm wrong somehow about it, please don't hesitate. Let me know. Tell me you think that I'm wrong about it, and I will listen. I really, really will. Understand, like, when I get heated on this stuff, like, I'm not being an asshole to the patrons. I love you guys and gals and invited transgender species. I think you're great. Okay, I'm being an asshole towards these companies and towards what these people are fucking doing. So anyway, okay. Let's see. Last bit. All right. Yeah, I just want to end off. We're going to do our album of the week. Now, I'll let you in on something that with episode 226 of Sovereign Tech, we are changing it up. It is that every 6 months we change up the show. I am actually adding in an album of the week segment, so you won't be getting album of the week anymore on Q&As because they'll be part of Sovereign Tech Prime. But I had so many people request that, like, how could I not, take that on? So, all right, this is the last album of the week for Q&As. I know you're waiting for it. And here we go. So this is an album that just came out, but I was already really, really impressed by it. And it's called United by a band that you might not have ever heard of. And the band is Harem Scarem. Now, funny name, but Harem Scarem's been around for a very, very long time. They're a Canadian band, started out of Toronto back in '87. And they have, just so much talent. They are so good. They've had a few weak albums here and there, but largely they've been regularly coming out with albums, and they've been rock solid, in my opinion. And their latest album, United, is no different, in my opinion. Just a fantastic little album. Now, if you want to hear some classic Harem Scarem, perhaps before you get into United, I recommend, and this is kind of a rarity, that which, by the way, so as far as best songs, Gravity's a really good song on there. It's not a track for track album, but Here Today, Gone Tomorrow is good. The opening track, United, the title track, is really good. Sky is Falling was a good song. I really dig this album a lot. So, but here's kind of the unique thing with Harem Scarem. Okay, see, now there, I didn't say so good. I said I dig the album a lot. Okay, so it's melodic, hard rock. You could barely call it metal. Okay, so I don't want to just say so good. Thank you, listener, for pointing that out. Like I said, I'm going to be conscious of that, and I'll try and catch myself when I slip. This is, like, best comparison. I don't know. No, they're harder than, like, if you listen to Danger, where, it's this very, like, kind of, it's not power metal, but it definitely power rock, like, where it's very upbeat and, very melodic. I like that a lot. That's in many ways my favorite kind of music. And some of it's pretty sexy. If you listen to the Giant recommendations that I made in previous Q&As, this is very close to Giant. Sounds a lot like it, which is, that in my opinion, that's only a good thing to replicate, kind of that upbeat, power and even sometimes romantic, musical sound, as far as, breaking out guitars and doing some guitar solos. The unique thing about Harem Scarem is that they had their first album, which is very hard to find. It's their self-titled album, Harem Scarem, from 91. Okay, even though they started back in 87, their first record deal wasn't until 91. Harem Scarem had some real, some quality, great technical and awesome kind of melodic, almost Winger-esque, songs on it. Okay. But their second album, Mood Swings, which came out in 93, went through the roof as far as sales, at least in other countries. Like in Japan, it's huge. Of course, what isn't huge in Japan? But there's some great songs on there. Saviors Never Cry, No Justice, songs, good hard rockers. Okay. Good heavy stuff. In fact, Mood Swings is a heavier album than, guitar wise, certainly than Harem Scarem, the self-titled is. The fascinating thing is that now a lot of bands will do this, where they will come out with an album, or like 20 years after they first come out with an album or something, they'll come out with like a 20th anniversary edition of a previous album that they had, right? Now, sometimes they'll do this for, just to like have like a greatest hits disc that they can put out, say with another album release that they have. But because it's newly performed, they're technically new songs, and maybe they don't have to pay their old record company or some kind of previous copyright fees, even though they wrote the songs. They might. That doesn't mean that they still own them. For people to listen to. So sometimes they'll do that. Sometimes they just like to put a new flair on some of their songs. For example, Kiss likes to do this because like some of their songs, some of their hit songs from Dynasty, from the album Dynasty, which is kind of a rock disco album, they want to take the disco out of it because now disco doesn't matter anymore. So when they do I Was Made for Loving You, they want to turn it into a hard rocker, which makes sense. So they re-perform it. But a lot of the other times what happens, the reason that bands will do this is because they will lose control of the song if they don't re-release it somehow. And so sometimes they will do like a remix or, like a remixed edition of their songs, of an entire album even, to keep creative and copyright control of the album. I'm not saying I like that because I hate intellectual property. I think that's horseshit. Okay, but Harem Scarem is one such band that in 2013, 20 years later, they re-performed, remixed, whatever, re-performed all the way, their album Mood Swings, and they called it Mood Swings 2 that came out in 2013. The amazing thing is that usually when this happens, when a band kind of redoes an album, for example, for another example, Twisted Sister's Stay Hungry, right? They did a version, they did a re-performance of that album called Still Hungry a few years ago. And Still Hungry obviously doesn't compare at all to Stay Hungry. Like Stay Hungry sounds so superior in quality. I'm not saying Still Hungry is bad. I'm just saying, and it's because it's not, but Stay Hungry just sounds so good, or it sounds so much more raw than Still Hungry does. And it just has a lot more power behind it, behind the guitars and even, Dee Snider's voice and whatever else. And JJ's just playing harder. But with Mood Swings 2, I think that sounds better than Mood Swings. Like, I think it has a better quality. I think, the singing has a better edge. The guitars are heavier. And usually I don't say that. In fact, it's the only album I can think of where when they've done a re-performance of an album that it actually sounds better. Like Kiss recently did a re-performance of Destroyer, right? Like it was called Destroyer Resurrected, came out, last year or something like that. Yeah, it came out last year because this is, the anniversary of the original release of Destroyer in 76. Not as good as the original, it just doesn't have the same qualities that the original Destroyer had. But Mood Swing 2, yeah, delivers. So you're going to have a hard time, even if you want to torrent the albums from Harem Scarem, you're going to have a hard time getting your hands on them, especially the first album, very difficult to find. Mood Swing 2, you can probably get your hands on. United, you can get your hands on their new album, even though I recommend buying it. I think it's that good of an album. Yeah, so Harem Scarem, it might be a band you've never heard of. They're definitely the three best. I mean, they have quite a few good albums going for, or quite a few real high quality, that melodic hard rock sound album that so many people don't do anymore. They have that out there. So, keep that in. Yeah, if you're looking for some great hard rock, if you're looking for kind of more of that like Stan Bush sound that I know I've introduced a lot of people to, or maybe even almost not really a Kane Roberts, but more of like a Danger, or what was the other? Oh, Giant. Yeah, Giant was the other band that I had mentioned. If you're looking for that kind of sound, you can do far worse than rocking it out with Harry Hess and Pete L'Espérance from Harem Scarem. I think they do a fantastic job of keeping that metal, that kind of rock alive. So all of their albums I recommend, but certainly they're self-titled. Mood Swings 2 you can check out, and United I think is also really solid in delivering that style. So there you go. Okay, there's your album of the week. Again, Harem Scarem, United, and you might want to check out Mood Swings 2. And if you can get your hands on their first album, I definitely recommend that. That's enough. We're just over an hour. Woo! I think we covered a lot of ground, and I'm not going to apologize for having some sass in this episode, but I was just feeling it. So, and anyway, once again, folks, let us be so happy that Chelsea Manning, that she is finally out. Woo! That deserves a woo more than anything. And yeah, great new Sovereign Tech coming out this week. And we're going to have the new intros. Yes, we will have the new intros ready for episode 226. It's going to be a great time. I've already heard them. They are so hot. Woo! Of course I heard them. I put them together. But, you know, I heard the ladies that perform. You know how it goes. Anyway, that's enough. I'll see you on the other side.
You just experienced Sovereign Tech. Go to sovereigntech.com, that's SOVRYN tech.com, and connect with us there. Find links from today's show and catch our podcast feed. Sovereign Tech is copy heart. Copying art is an act of love, and love is not subject to law. So please share the show however you like. Welcome to the evolution.